Hello fellow teachers and learners, my name is Eden and today I will be discussing with you the main characteristics, origins and utilisation of behaviourism. Now behaviourism is primarily focused on observable behaviour which can be tested and measured. It focuses very little on the thought process or emotion, instead concerning itself with learned or automated responses. The science behind behaviourism can be split into two main fields, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Classical conditioning can be defined as the association of an automatic response with a new stimulus. What this means is taking a neutral stimulus and pairing it with the unconditioned stimulus that provokes the unconditioned response. This method gives the neutral stimulus a new meaning to the subject by association, and presenting the subject with the now conditioned stimulus will provoke the same automated reaction as the unconditioned stimulus. Operant conditioning is not so concerned with automatic responses and reflexes. The science of operant conditioning focuses on learnt behaviour and autonomous responses from subjects. It bases these responses on a reward or punishment system to either strengthen or weaken a certain conscious behaviour. This diagram helps us to understand the process of operant conditioning in its simplest form: antecedents, behaviour, consequence. For example, an antecedent could be homework, the behaviour could be a student not doing their homework, and the consequence could be a punishment like a phone call to the student's parents. These basic elements of operant conditioning make it the most relevant and useful form of behaviourism in schools today. Dr. Ivan Pavlov birthed the first theories of behaviourism and has been credited with discovering the unconditioned response. In a nutshell, he observed increased salivation when his dog saw his lab assistant and hypothesised that they had learnt to associate his assistant with food. So he began his experiment. As a control, Pavlov rang the bell for his dogs to confirm that there was no digestive response like there was when the dogs were presented with food. Pavlov then began ringing a bell while his dogs fed and successfully conditioned his dogs to increase salivation when they heard the dinner bell ringing. The food, or unconditioned stimulus, provoked salivation, the unconditioned response, while the bell, or neutral stimulus, provoked no response. When put together, the dogs learnt to associate the neutral stimulus, bell, with the unconditioned stimulus, food, and salivated at the sound of the bell alone. John B. Watson then took Pavlov's theory and applied it to humans. In his famed Little Albert experiment, he introduced the healthy 9-month-old baby Albert to a variety of neutral stimuli to which Albert didn't seem too fazed by. Albert was presented with a white rat, and when he reached out to touch it, Watson hit a metal bar with a hammer. Our unconditioned response to loud noises is to jump or be startled, and, understandably, little Albert would burst into tears at the loud bang. When Watson removed the loud noise from the trials, he found that Albert had been successfully conditioned to fear the white rat, as well as anything white or fluffy. Thorndike then came along and paved the way for operant conditioning by experimenting on the effect of rewards on conscious behaviour. In his experiments, hungry cats were placed inside his puzzle box and had to flick a switch or pull a lever to escape and get to the food. To begin with, the hungry cats would usually just go ballistic and end up accidentally knocking the switch. But when the cat was placed in the box again, it would focus its movements towards the general area of the lever, or the area that made the door open, as the cat probably remembers it. Eventually, the cat would flick the switch or latch as soon as it was placed in the box. Thorndike developed what he called trial and error learning. Following Thorndike's work with positive reinforcement and rewards, Skinner took conditioning to new heights with positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and punishment. He believed that theories of classical conditioning were too simple to explain complex human behaviour, and decided to look at causes and consequence. He invented Skinner boxes, which were similar to Thorndike's puzzle boxes, but rather than just rewarding the test subject with an escape to food, these boxes could positively reinforce, negatively reinforce, and punish their subjects. For example, in one box a rat could pull a lever to escape and obtain food, and then in a different box hit a switch that would stop a mild electric shock. These are both examples of reinforcement as opposed to punishment. The positive reinforcement is the food, and the negative reinforcement is removing the uncomfortable electric shock. Skinner revolutionised operant conditioning through reinforcement and punishment, and is regarded today as the father of operant conditioning. Now, from Thorndike and Skinner's work with operant conditioning, we can confidently say that rewarding behaviour encourages it. You probably remember seeing sticker charts on the wall of your primary school classroom, where you would earn a little smiley face sticker next to your name every time you completed some outstanding work. At the time, those stickers were the greatest things in the world, and you loved showing off how many stickers you'd earned, so what did you do? You kept producing the best work you possibly could to earn more stickers. This is just one example though. You can take this concept and materialise a reward system in any way you see fit. Along the same lines, we can also discourage unwanted behaviours through punishments such as detention and suspension. Through methods of operant conditioning, we are also able to shape students' social conduct to our benefit. For example, when the school bell rings, a student knows that it's time to sit at their desks and begin learning. Conditioned responses like these in schools account for less disruption and allow teachers to use their time more efficiently. Now, the most predominant limitation presented by conditioning in schools is that it doesn't focus on cognitive ability. So while we're learning how to behave or respond to certain stimuli, we aren't learning how to absorb academic knowledge and then apply it to further learning. We also can't be certain that the students we're trying to condition will cooperate. Although Skinner argues that free will is an illusion and we are all subject to stimuli and reinforcement, there is too much evidence to support that some behaviours are genetically predetermined and cannot be changed or controlled. Along the same lines, we also have to consider behavioural disorders like ADHD and learning disabilities on the autism spectrum, which are hard to manage and treat even with consistent repetitive reinforcement. Now, my personal beliefs. Well, as a new parent, I know that employing behaviourism techniques is in the near future for me because, the way I see it, discipline and behaviourism fall under the same umbrella. Put simply, operant conditioning rewards the desired behaviour and punishes unwelcome behaviour, which is basically the definition of discipline. We regularly see these practices in parenting. A parent may ask their child to clean their room and reward them with pocket money, teaching them about good work ethic. And on the contrary, we might see a toddler throwing a tantrum in the supermarket, resulting in a smack on the bottom, teaching them that there are consequences for bad behaviour. It is essential that we raise our children to be civil and productive members of society, and teach them valuable moral code and social conduct. The same goes with the students we're teaching. In summary, I believe that a well-rounded education cannot be achieved solely using behaviourism and conditioning. For a student to learn skills and acquire knowledge, we must use cognitivism and constructivism. These learning theories need to be put into practice so that a student can absorb substantial information and then apply that information in real-world scenarios and develop further because of it. However, without the right attitude towards teachers, learning, and the school environment, teaching attempts would prove ineffective. And this is where we must incorporate theories of behaviourism into our teaching style. While behaviourism does not necessarily develop cognitive ability, it is essential for shaping social conduct and mannerism in schools so that further learning can efficiently take place. It is fundamentally the stable foundation for the building blocks of constructivism and cognitivism in a well-structured learning and teaching experience. Thank you for watching.